will talk about bag of task applications.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And today I'm going to be presenting the automatic tuning of bag of task applications. As usual, I'll start with some motivation and challenges, and then I'm going to explain the solution, go through some of our experimental evaluation before concluding the presentation. But for starts, let's explain the most part of the title. Bag of tasks applications. These are applications that you can find in scientific and commercial applications, such as chemoinformatics. An example is molecular docking, where you have many molecules that you want to dock against each other in order, for example, to find drugs or reposition drugs. Another example from bioinformatics is to do multiple sequence alignment. This is a process that is essential for genome assembly, for example. Another one from data analytics is to find frequent patterns. And in this example, you have a large set of candidates that you want to verify being frequent or not. The thing that is common between these applications is that they are large-scale computation. They're decomposed into many loosely coupled tasks in the orders of millions. They run on many CPUs because it's easy to parallelize them. And so you can actually go ahead and use a large cluster or even a supercomputer. The only problem here is it's not easy to get an efficient parallelization of these applications. And why is that? Well, let me first tell you that in this presentation I'm going to be talking about resource utilization, because it's really important to have an efficient solution. And this is because you want more value for your money, you want to increase your throughput, and you also want to save energy when you're talking about running on a supercomputer, for example. The metric to measure resource utilization is speed-up efficiency. Speed-up efficiency is basically your best serial runtime divided by the parallel runtime and the cores that you used, or the resources that you used. Optimally, this should be 1, but practically that's hard to achieve, and we will discuss why. Mainly, the challenges that we need to deal with is we want to minimize the time to solution, but bear in mind that does not mean better utilization, and we really want better utilization. The thing is, if you waste CPU resources, your efficiency is not optimal or close to optimal, but your CPUs are not idle, so you can't use them for other applications, for example. And you can't use previous studies or previous knowledge of typical workloads whenever you want to run these applications. So your previous experience does not really help you much. And this is because of data dependence. What I mean by data dependence is that speed-up efficiency of the same application is different when you use different data sets. For example, look at this molecular ducking example. We have a data set here, DS1, composed of 10,000 tasks. On the x-axis there, we change the cores, the number of cores that we're using, and we plot the speed-up efficiency. You can tell you're having good scalability here with good utilization of your resources, but you get a different data set of the same number of tasks, and this data set comes also, is very similar to the other one. They're both from the same features, the molecules. They're lead-like molecules. And the speed up in this, for this one is significantly worse. You get another data set, and it's even better. Another data set of the same size as well, and it's worse. So what do you do to figure out the speed-up efficiency? And why do you want to know the speed-up efficiency in advance? You want to predict speed-up efficiency because you want to know how far can you scale running this bag of task application. Another problem has to do with decomposing your tasks. Speed-up efficiency of the same query using the same data set is different for different decompositions. And here's another example of pattern mining. We decompose a problem into 16,000 tasks, and we run up to 8,000 cores. And this is the speed up efficiency that we get. Now we go ahead and further decompose the problem into 65,000 tasks. The speed up efficiency here is enhanced, which is good. So we go ahead and try to decompose further to 260,000 tasks, and the speed up efficiency is enhanced. So you get the feeling that the finer you decompose your problem, the better is your speed up efficiency or your resource utilization. So we go ahead and further decompose into 1,000,000 tasks, and speed up efficiency actually decreases. For less than 2,000 cores, you're worse than any other one, and then you're back to your 65,000 task speed up efficiency. So, in this presentation, our goal is to, in this work, our goal is to predict the utilization with high accuracy. So the user would be able to use their resources wisely. We want to also assist them to scale to large infrastructures, because these computations are really expensive and you don't want to spend hours or days running your tasks. Briefly, our contributions is the A-Plug standalone automatic tuning utility. This utility also has an interface, so you can integrate it into your own application with minimal change to your code. For example, we integrated it with 3 different applications in less than 50 lines of code. We have an EC2 Amazon image, so you can easily deploy your application with A-Plug on EC2. And we evaluated this technique using 3 case studies on different infrastructures. So let me first talk about the case studies that we're going to be discussing for the rest of this presentation. For molecular ducking, we use BinLC. BinLC is a parallel system for molecular ducking that is used for drug discovery and repositioning. When you're ducking M molecules against N molecules, you get M by N operations, and each operation is an independent task. For sequence alignment, we use the SSW library, which is used to identify similar regions in sequences. Each pairwise alignment is a task, so the number of tasks that you can generate given n sequences is n squared minus n over 2, which can grow large very quickly. For pattern mining, we use Acme. Acme is a system for analytics on bio sequences, time series, and web logs. Each group of candidate patterns is a task. The group size is variable, so you can change the decomposition of your problem, whereas in the first 2 applications, the decomposition is fixed. So the foundation of our solution is you want to increase your utilization. So for that, you need to predict the speed up efficiency. But to predict the speed up efficiency, you need to estimate the parallel and serial time accurately. And for that, you want to estimate the tasks workloads. So tasks workloads are not known in advance. You have so many tasks, and there is no way you want to run these tasks to know their workloads in advance. A predictive model is really required. So let's study workload frequency distributions for different workloads. Here, there's a molecular ducking example using BinLC. We have the 2 data sets, DS1 and DS2 and DS3. And we ran all the tasks and computed their workloads in time, and plotted their workload frequency distribution. What you see here is that the frequency distribution of DS2 and DS3 are totally different, which is why their speed up efficiencies are also different. You can also tell from here that the blue line, the blue frequency distribution line here, is more regular, which is why, and most of the tasks are small, a little bit of the tasks are big. So most of the tasks will finish within 100 seconds. just a few of them are going to reach 350 seconds, meaning you're given, for example, dynamic scheduling, your load balancing is going to be near to optimal, which is why your speed up efficiency is also near to optimal. So, in our solution, we want to predict the degree of parallelism, or guide the degree of parallelism for running bed of tasks applications. For that, we need to estimate the number of cores that would give you certain speed up efficiency threshold. So the user has constraints, whether it's time or budget, or in this case, speed up efficiency threshold. And we will simulate the execution using queuing theory to capture workloads queueness. We will also be able to guide the decomposition of the problem to guarantee enough tasks per core and to generate few or no useless tasks to avoid the overhead of redundant work, for example, or to not to miss opportunities for pruning your search space. We will also want to have few or none of the heavy workload tasks. When decomposing your problem, the frequency distribution that you want for your workloads is actually this, a positively skewed distribution. This is because you don't want most of your tasks to be of zero workload. You don't want most of your tasks to be heavy, because that would increase the workload imbalance when running your application on many cores. And basically, this is a gamma distribution, which is why we use a gamma distribution for as a model for workload frequency distributions. In a nutshell, a plug framework works like that, like this. The user constraints are fed into the library. A decomposition type is a property of your problem or your application. First, in the first cycle here, you want to tune your decomposition by sampling tasks of different decompositions and modeling the gamma frequency distribution of these tasks. Once you get the frequency distribution that you're targeting, you can stop this cycle because you got the right decomposition, and you go for adapting your parallelism. To adapt the parallelism, basically you simulate the runtime of parallel execution given a PDF of your workload frequency distribution, and you estimate the serial runtime by summing the workloads of the estimated tasks. Once the user constraints are met, you're done. And in practice, this cycle goes only a single-digit number. So how do you estimate the tasks' runtimes? Since we adapt the gamma PDF to estimate workloads, we have a few parameters, actually two parameters of the gamma distribution that we will need to get or to estimate. And for that, we have the formulas are actually basic, and they're in the paper if you want to refer to them. But the thing is, these are easily calculated using the sampled tasks. And this shows the actual workload distribution of 8,000 tasks. So here we run 8,000 tasks and we plot their workload frequency distribution. And here we show the estimated PDF, the gamma PDF that we estimated using 160 tasks as a sample. And you can tell actually that the estimated PDF is closely resembles the actual one, leading to accurate predictions of runtimes. The estimation process goes through this cycle. First, we integrate the PDF to compute the number of tasks of similar workloads. We then sum the estimated workloads to find the serial runtime and simulate the parallel execution using queuing theory to find the parallel time. Now, to automatically decompose the problem, we find the process decomposition by solving an optimization problem. We want to maximize scalability while maintaining a certain speed-up efficiency threshold. First, we partition the process at a specific parameter value. We predict this expected speed-up efficiency using the process that we just explained. And then we repeat until the speed-up efficiency threshold is met. For the rest of this presentation, I'm going to evaluate a plug. First of all, the system specifications, we ran on 16,000 core supercomputer. We also used a 480 core Linux cluster and evaluated a plug on EC2 using 40 on-demand instances. The data sets that we used are all real data sets. For molecular docking, we used the lead-like components from Zinc database, generating 10,000 tasks. For the sequence alignment, we used shotguns of bacteria, generating over 1 million tasks. And for the pattern mining, we used the entire human DNA, generating up to 262,000 tasks. Our baseline is the naive solution given a sample of tasks. Your serial runtime is the average times the number of tasks, the average of the workloads of the sample times the number of tasks, and the parallel one is the parallel time is the serial runtime divided by the cores that you're running on. To evaluate the accuracy of a plug, I'm using WinLC. We ran on this Linux cluster up to 256 cores, and you see here that the A-plug error is significantly lower than the baseline, and it is consistent as you increase the number of cores. Similarly, for the SSW application and for ACME, the A-plug error is small and consistent compared to the baseline. Here we show the accuracy of estimating the parallel runtime and cost of ACME on Amazon EC2 Cloud. In this application, a user is assumed to have only 20 bucks and a limited time of 2 hours. And they want to know how many instances on Amazon should they rent. Now you could blindly go ahead and choose a number, but the chances that you're going to nail the number right for your budget and your time are really low, given this chart here. If you pick one instance, you're running into days and you want to finish in 2 hours. If you pick 20, you're spending your budget, but you may not finish in time. What is amazing here is that A-plug actually can point out that going to 40 instances, your cost is as much as what you would spend using 20 instances, only now you're going to finish in 1.5 hours. And this has to do with the pricing scheme of Amazon. Some sensitivity analysis, since we're using samples to do the estimations. Using WinLC here as an example, the sample size is increased from 1 to 8% of the total number of tasks. And you can see here that, as expected, the larger your sample, the better the accuracy of your estimations. But the good thing here is, even with a small sample size of 4%, your error is really low using A-plug. Similarly for the other two applications, here we show the effective scalability of ACME. When using A-plug, ACME is able to cut the time. ACME is able to cut the running time on the supercomputer by more than half, just by choosing the right decomposition automatically for the user, which is significant when you're considering running on a supercomputer and the core hours that you would save, not to mention energy. In summary, we presented A-plug, an automatic tuning framework for bag of tasks applications. We want to facilitate the shift towards truly integrated estimation models. We adapt the degree of parallelism and decompose problems automatically. We use workload frequency distributions to quantify or predict resource utilization. And we tested A-plug on 3 different applications and 3 different infrastructures. In the future, we would want to generalize the framework to work with tasks with interdependencies, although that is much more challenging. But our preliminary results are also good. All right, so thank you, everybody, and I'll be ready for any questions.
So are there any questions?
Thanks for the talk. It seems like one of the fundamental assumptions that you're making is that the data distribution can be approximated by some gamma distribution, right?
Sure.
And so how reasonable is that? So it's not really a heavy-tailed distribution. Most data sets, for example, in data mining, are really heavy-tailed, like power law distributions. In that case, sampling becomes really, really hard with a good distribution over the task.
The gamma distribution was chosen because it's really flexible. It's not just always that that shape. I mean, it could also be power law.
Are there more questions? Okay, so thank you again.